The snow fell quietly outside, blanketing the small town of Bangor, Maine, in a cold, unforgiving silence. Inside a modest two-story house on the corner of Maple Avenue, the warmth of home felt like anything but comforting. The smell of burnt toast lingered in the air, and the only sound was the clinking of silverware against a chipped porcelain plate. Emily sat at the edge of the kitchen table, her eyes downcast, a slice of dry toast untouched in front of her. She wore a faded sweater 2 sizes too small, its threads clinging tightly to her soft frame. At 268 pounds, her presence filled the room, but in her husband's eyes, she had become invisible. "Jesus, Emily, again with the carbs? No wonder nothing fits you anymore," Tom muttered, not even looking up from his phone. Her throat tightened. She didn't reply. Tom, her husband of 12 years, was once the man who promised her the world. But lately, his affection had turned bitter. Every morning felt like a new opportunity for him to remind her of her weight. And every night, she fell asleep wondering how love could rot into something so cruel. She had given up so much for that man. She left her job at the town's small insurance firm to care for his mother when she got sick. She put her dreams on hold, thinking love was about sacrifice. But now, even her sacrifices had lost their value. That morning, Tom pulled on his coat and paused at the door. He glanced back, his eyes scanning her body like a checklist of everything he thought was wrong with her. "You know, maybe if you actually cared about your health, we wouldn't be stuck in this financial hole. Who's gonna hire someone who can't walk up a flight of stairs without wheezing?" That one landed deep. Money, health, prosperity. Words Tom threw like darts. He made her feel like she was the reason they weren't living in some big house by the lake, sipping wine and swimming in wealth. But it was his gambling that drained their savings, his poor choices that left them drowning in overdue bills. Emily had always tried to hold the house together, budgeting every dollar, cooking at home, clipping coupons, all the while carrying the blame for their so-called lack of success. As the door slammed behind him, Emily sat in silence. Her hand rested on her stomach, the same stomach Tom said embarrassed him in public. She looked around the kitchen, worn cabinets, a cracked tile floor, a broken clock stuck at 10:15. Everything tired, like her. But what hurt the most wasn't the words. It was the way he said them, like she was a burden, like she was the reason he was unhappy, like her size made her unworthy of love, respect, or even kindness, and worst of all, she believed him. Later that afternoon, she went to the grocery store. A simple trip. Bread, milk, maybe some eggs if they were still on sale. But as she reached for a loaf of whole wheat, 2 teenage girls nearby snickered. "Did you see? Her cart! All that junk food! No wonder," one whispered, loud enough to sting. Emily froze. It wasn't just at home anymore. The world had begun to echo Tom's cruelty. Strangers saw her weight before they saw her heart. They measured her worth by the number on a scale, not by her values, her kindness, or the years she spent holding a family together. That night, something shifted. She stared at her reflection for a long time. Not with hate, not with shame, but with grief. Grief for the woman she used to be, the one who laughed freely, the one who danced in the rain, the one who believed in love, in herself, in a future filled with light and joy and dignity. She whispered to the mirror, voice trembling, "This can't be it. This can't be all there is." She didn't know what change would look like yet. She didn't know how many pounds she'd have to lose, how many tears she'd have to cry, or how many mornings she'd have to fight just to get out of bed. But she knew one thing. She was done letting other people decide her worth. And as the clock struck midnight, she sat down with a blank notebook. and on the first page, in shaky handwriting, she wrote, Day 1. I choose myself. The mornings in Maine were bitter that time of year. The kind of cold that crept into your bones and made your breath catch in the air like smoke. But for the first time in a long while, Emily didn't pull the covers over her head. She rose with purpose, her feet touching the cold wooden floor with quiet determination. It had been just 6 days since she wrote those words in her notebook. Day 1. I choose myself. And something about putting it in writing made it real. She wasn't sure where to start. The internet was full of conflicting advice: keto, fasting, meal prep, gym memberships. All she knew was that if she didn't take her health seriously now, she'd lose more than weight. She'd lose herself. That morning, Emily bundled up in her old coat and stepped outside. The sun was barely rising, casting a golden shimmer over the snow-covered rooftops. She took a deep breath and walked. No fancy sneakers, no music in her ears, just her heartbeat and the crunch of snow underfoot. Every step was a statement. I matter. I'm not giving up. Back at home, Tom was still in bed. He hadn't even noticed her gone. When she returned, cheeks flushed from the cold, he was in the kitchen scrolling through job listings on his phone. Not for himself, of course. Just complaining again about how nobody was hiring someone with his experience. You've been gone? Where'd you go? He asked, barely lifting his eyes. I went for a walk, Emily said, pouring herself a glass of water. Tom smirked. Trying to burn off those pancakes from last night? Don't overdo it. She didn't reply. Not this time. Because for the first time in years, she wasn't trying to please him. She wasn't walking for his approval. She was walking to reclaim her health, her dignity, her peace. Each day, she walked a little farther. She swapped soda for lemon water. She started writing what she ate, how she felt, how many steps she took. It wasn't glamorous, no personal trainer, no expensive plan, just grit and a quiet, growing fire inside her. In the evenings, when Tom sat in front of the TV with takeout and beer, Emily prepared her meals. Simple, clean foods, grilled chicken, steamed veggies, a handful of almonds when the cravings hit. She didn't talk about it. She didn't make a show of it. But she was building something. Quietly, steadily, brick by brick. Still, the emotional weight was heavier than any number on the scale. One night, around 11:30, Emily sat alone at the kitchen table. The house was dark, except for the soft hum of the fridge. She stared at her notebook, fingers trembling. I'm tired, she wrote. Not just from walking, from carrying years of shame, from being told I'm less than, from feeling like I've got to earn love by becoming smaller. She paused, then added, but I'm not doing this to be loved. I'm doing this to be free. It became her mantra. To be free. By the third week, she'd already dropped 11 pounds. It wasn't just the weight, it was the way she moved, the way she carried herself, the way she began to smile at strangers again, as if remembering what it felt like to take up space without apology. But Tom noticed. Not the weight loss, no. He noticed the change in her energy, the way she wasn't hanging on his every word anymore, the way she didn't flinch when he made a snide remark. You seeing someone? He asked one night, out of nowhere. Emily looked up from her journal, surprised. What? You've been all quiet, distant, like you've got a secret. She closed her notebook slowly. No secrets, just finally remembering who I am. Tom laughed, but it sounded more like a scoff. Yeah, good luck with that. You've said that before. Never sticks. But Emily wasn't angry. She felt sad. Not for herself, for him. Because while she was building something real, self-respect, health, values that mattered, He was still stuck blaming the world, counting other people's money, resenting the success and prosperity he never fought for. She wasn't chasing wealth or revenge. She was chasing peace. And for the first time, she knew exactly what that meant. By the time the first week of February rolled in, Maine was covered in thick snowbanks. The streets were icy, the skies gray, and the wind sharp enough to slice through layers of wool. But Emily didn't let the cold stop her. Her body ached, yes. Her legs burned from walking longer routes. But her spirit, that was finally waking up. She had lost almost 20 pounds by then. It wasn't fast, and it wasn't easy. Some mornings she cried while tying her shoes. Other nights she sat in her car outside the grocery store, hands trembling from the temptation to go back to comfort food. But she didn't. Because this wasn't about size anymore. It was about freedom. About values. About finally taking control of her health and her future. At home, Tom barely noticed the changes. He still made sarcastic comments, still left empty pizza boxes on the counter, still acted like her existence was an inconvenience. But Emily had stopped reacting. That silence, her peace, rattled him more than her old tears ever did. One Sunday evening, they sat at the kitchen table, him eating fried chicken, her with grilled salmon and spinach. Tom scoffed. "Look at you, acting all high and mighty with your little health kick. This some phase until you cave and go back to your ice cream again?" Emily didn't even look up. She calmly said, "This isn't about ice cream, or you. This is about me choosing something better." He leaned back, chuckling. "Better than me?" She met his eyes then. "Yes, better than this." The silence that followed was heavy. Later that night, she opened her notebook and wrote, "I used to think being small would make people love me, but now I just want to feel strong. I want health. I want prosperity. I want a life where I don't feel ashamed every time I look in the mirror." She underlined prosperity 3 times, because it wasn't just about money. It was about wealth of the soul, a richness in peace, in boundaries, in self-worth. And maybe someday, in actual dollars too, because she had dreams of going back to school, finding work again, contributing financially to her own life in ways that made her feel proud. A few days later, while out on a walk, Emily passed a local yoga studio. She stood outside for several minutes, watching the women inside, tall, short, slim, curvy, all moving with grace. She had never done yoga before. She'd always told herself she was too big for that kind of thing. But something inside her whispered, "Try." She walked in. The receptionist smiled warmly. "Hey there. First time?" Emily nodded. "Yeah, I'm nervous." "That's okay. We all start somewhere. You're in the right place." The class was hard. Her balance was off. Her arms trembled. Her breath was shallow, but she did it. She stayed the whole hour. And afterward, she sat in her car and cried. Not from pain, but from pride. For the first time in years, she felt like she had stepped into a room and belonged. She was slowly building a new life. It wasn't flashy. There was no money pouring in, no big dramatic moment, just quiet shifts, healthier habits, a calmer mind, a sense of direction. Tom, on the other hand, was spiraling. He had lost another job. Couldn't hold down anything longer than a week. He blamed the economy, blamed bad luck, blamed everyone but himself. The credit cards were maxed. The overdue bills were stacking up. One night, around 10, Tom snapped. "You're acting like you're too good for me now, huh?" he barked. Emily didn't raise her voice. She didn't cry. "I'm not better than you," she said. "I'm just not broken anymore." That sentence hung in the air like thunder. It was the first time she truly felt the wealth of healing. Not money, not validation, but true emotional wealth. values that mattered, the power of resilience, the strength of rebuilding yourself without needing applause. She wasn't done yet, not even close. But she was no longer surviving. She was rising. By the last week of February, the sidewalks of Bangor were slick with ice, the kind that made you step carefully and pay attention. Emily had learned to do the same with her life, one step at a time, steady, intentional. She had now lost 32 pounds. It showed in her face, in the way her jeans no longer pinched at the waist, and how her breath came easier during her walks. But more than that, it showed in her eyes. She looked different. Not because of the pounds lost, but because she had finally stopped shrinking for other people. At the local library one afternoon, she bumped into Sarah, an old friend from high school. Sarah did a double take. "Emily? Oh my God, girl, you look good!" Emily smiled. It had been years since someone had looked at her without pity or judgment. "Thanks, just trying to take better care of my health," she replied, tucking a strand of hair behind her ear. Sarah tilted her head, curious. "You always had a beautiful heart, Em. Now it's like it's shining through. You working again?" "Not yet. But I'm thinking about going back to school. Maybe online courses to start," Emily said. "I want to do something that aligns with my values." "I love that," Sarah nodded. "It's never too late, you know?" It wasn't. And for the first time, Emily believed that deeply. Back at home, though, Tom was unraveling. He hated the shift in energy. She wasn't available to absorb his moods anymore. She didn't argue, didn't beg for scraps of affection. And that made him feel powerless. "You've changed," he said one night, slouched on the recliner with a beer in hand. Emily stood in the kitchen, prepping her meals for the week. Chicken, brown rice, roasted veggies, foods that made her feel strong. "I hope so," she said without turning around. Tom laughed bitterly. "You're not special, you know. You think because you dropped a few pounds, suddenly you're better than everyone?" She set the knife down slowly and turned. "No, Tom. I think because I finally respect myself, I'm not willing to let people disrespect me anymore. That includes you." There was no yelling, no slamming doors, just quiet truth. And it rattled him. He still controlled the money in the house, still reminded her every chance he got that she didn't bring in a dime. But what he didn't know was that Emily had been planning. She had set up a small online savings account in her name. A few dollars here and there, leftover grocery change, birthday money from her sister. It wasn't much, but it was hers. A seed of future prosperity. She called it her Freedom Fund. And every time she deposited into it, she felt rich. Not in the traditional sense, but in values, in clarity, in hope. One evening, she sat at her laptop and started researching health coaching certifications. She didn't want to be famous. She didn't even want to be in the spotlight. She just wanted to help women like her. Women who had been made to feel small, ashamed, forgotten. The stories she read online, they sounded just like hers. Wives who had been ridiculed for gaining weight after childbirth. Women who stayed in toxic marriages because they didn't have the money or strength to leave. Young girls who never developed self-worth because their parents told them beauty was the only value they had. Emily cried reading them. But not from sadness, from purpose. That night, she added a new sentence to her journal. "My pain is not pointless. It's the seed of something bigger. I want to create a life of wealth, not just in dollars, but in love, health, and impact." Tom noticed she had started staying up late, that she smiled at her phone, that her wardrobe was slowly changing, nothing flashy but cleaner, bolder choices. The old oversized hoodies were replaced by fitted sweaters. Her nails were done, her hair styled. "You're dressing up for someone?" he asked one Saturday morning. Emily chuckled softly. "Yeah, me." That answer stung more than anything else he'd heard. And deep down, he knew. He was losing control, not just of her, but of the life she used to orbit around him. She was no longer spinning in his gravity. She was building her own universe. By mid-March, the snow in Bangor had started to melt, revealing brown grass and cracked sidewalks underneath. The wind still carried a chill, but the sun was staying out a little longer each evening. It felt symbolic, like winter was losing its grip, just like Emily was breaking free from hers. She had now lost 47 pounds. The number shocked her when she stepped on the scale. But more than the number, it was the woman staring back at her in the mirror that made her heart skip. Her face was sharper, her skin brighter, but her eyes, those held something new. Pride. That afternoon, she tried on a dress she hadn't worn in years. It was soft blue, cinched at the waist, and it actually fit. She twirled once in front of the mirror and let out a small laugh. It wasn't about being skinny. It was about recognizing herself again. "Damn," she whispered to her reflection, smiling. "You're coming back." Tom noticed, of course. He didn't say much, but his eyes lingered longer. His tone grew colder. And one night, while they ate dinner, she with grilled shrimp and veggies, he with microwave mac and cheese, he said what had clearly been brewing for weeks. "Is this about finding someone new? That what all this health stuff's about?" Emily put her fork down, calmly. "No, this is about choosing myself. You should try it sometime." He scoffed, bitter. "You think you're better now? You think you're rich with your little walks and salads? We're still broke, Em. Still behind on bills. That salad ain't gonna fix that." Her voice didn't rise. "But it's fixing me." Tom rolled his eyes and left the table. But Emily stayed, chewing slowly, peacefully. Later that night, she logged into her laptop and checked her savings account. The balance wasn't big, just over $240. But to her, it felt like a fortune. Because every dollar was a brick in the foundation of her new life, a small taste of financial freedom, a slow path to prosperity. That weekend, she signed up for a weekend workshop in Portland, a women's wellness and empowerment retreat. It wasn't cheap, $165 for 2 days, meals included. But it felt right. When she told Tom, he snapped. "You're spending money now on yoga vacations while I'm drowning in debt? Are you kidding me?" Emily stayed calm. "I'm investing in my health, my mind, my values, and I'm paying with my own money." He shook his head. "You've changed." She looked him dead in the eyes. "I was dying in this house, slowly, quietly, and nobody noticed. So yeah, I've changed. I had to." The retreat changed her. Being around other women, hearing their stories, sharing her own, it was healing. For the first time, she didn't feel alone in her pain. She felt part of something. One woman, Claire, a nurse from Lewiston, pulled Emily aside after a session. "You've got something rare. Em, you talk and people listen. You make folks feel safe." Emily blinked back tears. "No one's ever said that to me." "Well, it's true," Claire said. "Ever thought of speaking, coaching? You've been through the fire. Now you've got wisdom. That's real wealth, you know. Not just money, influence, voice, power." The words stayed with her the whole drive back to Bangor. Wisdom as wealth. It hit her in a place deeper than pride. She didn't need millions to feel rich. She needed meaning, a path, a reason to keep going. And now she had one. When she got home, Tom barely looked up from the TV. "How was your little trip?" he asked, sarcasm dripping. Emily smiled. "Life-changing," he scoffed. "Sure." But deep down he felt it. She was rising, and he was being left behind. Spring was creeping into Bangor. The air smelled different now, cleaner, lighter, like something new was blooming underneath all the dirt and frost. For Emily, it wasn't just the weather that was changing. She had now lost 61 pounds. Every week her walks got longer. Her skin glowed, her sleep was deeper. Her laughter, when it came, sounded like it belonged to someone who hadn't carried shame in a while. And she wasn't hiding anymore. She wore clothes that hugged her body instead of covering it. She met with Claire and a few other women every Thursday at a small cafe downtown, sipping tea and sharing stories. And most importantly, she had enrolled in a 6-week online certification to become a wellness coach. It cost $195. Tom found the receipt in the trash. "You dropped almost $200 on some online certificate? Are you out of your mind?" he barked. Emily was folding laundry. Calm. Steady. "It's my money, my future, and honestly, it's the best investment I've ever made." He threw the receipt on the floor. "You think this little phase is going to pay the bills? You think you're going to fix our whole life by losing a few pounds and taking a class online?" She met his eyes and said, "I don't need to fix our life. I just need to fix mine." He didn't respond, because deep down he could see it. She was already doing it. She was transforming. Not just her weight, not just her body, but her mind, her peace, her identity. One afternoon, she stopped at the local bank to open a business account under the name New North Wellness. The clerk smiled politely as Emily explained she was starting a coaching business focused on health, emotional healing, and real-life transformation. "That's really inspiring," the woman said. "We don't see that every day." Emily grinned. "Trust me. A year ago, neither did I." That night, while Tom was watching reruns and complaining about another rejected job application, Emily sat in her corner of the living room, laptop open, typing the first blog post for her website. It was titled, "From Shame to Strength. My Journey Through 268 Pounds of Silence." The words poured out of her like a floodgate finally opening. Every moment of pain, every cruel comment, every time she'd been made to feel like she didn't belong. It wasn't just her story anymore. It was her offering, her gift. And people started to read it. By the second week of April, she had over 400 followers on her new Instagram page. Women were messaging her from all over the country. "I see myself in you. Your words gave me hope. I've been afraid to start, but now I'm not." She cried reading those, because the very pain that once made her feel worthless was now creating real value. One evening, while walking past the park, Emily bumped into Mr. Jensen, her old high school history teacher. He looked her up and down with kind, surprised eyes. "Emily, you look like you've got your fire back." She laughed, soft and honest. "Took me a while, but I found it." "Well, it's good to see someone thriving. A lot of people around here just give up." "Not me," she said. "I've got too much life left to live." He nodded. "That's wealth right there." Wealth, not just money in a bank, but richness of purpose, of clarity, of knowing you are enough and building from that truth. Back at home, Tom was still angry, still bitter, still blaming the world. "You think you're better than me now?" he asked, slurring slightly after his second beer. Emily didn't flinch. "I don't think I'm better than anyone, but I know I'm finally being better to myself." That silence after she spoke said everything. Tom had become a ghost in her story, still there, still present, but fading into the background of a narrative that no longer centered around him. Because this wasn't his story anymore. It was hers, and she was writing every page in her own voice. By the end of April, the town of Bangor had started to bloom. Trees were waking up, the sidewalks finally dry, and kids played outside again, their laughter bouncing through the streets. Emily walked past them with her earbuds in, arms swinging, a steady rhythm in her step. She had now lost 81 pounds, not all at once, not fast, but with intention and integrity and discipline that came from choosing her health over comfort, her values over excuses, her peace over people-pleasing. Her business, New North Wellness, had picked up traction. She had her first paying client, a single mom named Lisa from New Hampshire, who had read one of her posts and said, "You speak like you've lived my life." She had. And that connection, that shared truth, was powerful. Meanwhile, Tom was a shadow of the man he used to be. Still unemployed, still bitter, still taking swipes at her confidence like it owed him something. "You think you're rich now?" he muttered one morning when he saw her packing healthy snacks and her laptop. "You think coaching sad women on the internet makes you some kind of success?" Emily turned to him with a calm he hadn't seen before. "No, but I am successful, because I'm not angry all the time. I sleep well, I make my own money, and I wake up proud of who I am." He didn't respond, because deep down, he saw it. The prosperity she carried wasn't just about money. It was emotional, mental, spiritual. She glowed in a way he never had. That Friday, she booked a photo shoot with a local photographer, a woman-owned business she found online. It wasn't vanity, it was celebration. She wore a white blouse and dark jeans that fit her new figure perfectly. The shoot took place near the Penobscot River, wind in her hair, sun on her face. The photographer paused mid-shot. "You have the kind of look that says, 'I've been through hell and made it back richer.'" Emily blinked. "I feel that in my soul." She got the photos back the following week. In one of them, she was standing by the water, head tilted, smiling wide, her arms strong, her posture proud, her body transformed. The caption she posted with it? 92 pounds down, but the weight I've truly lost can't be measured in numbers." The post went viral. Thousands of shares, hundreds of comments. "You give me hope. This is what real beauty looks like. Tell me how you did it. I'm ready." And then, the message came. Late at night, from Tom's cousin, Rachel. "Just a heads up, saw Tom out the other night. He was at a bar telling people you were getting full of yourself, and that you'd come crawling back when your little business failed." Emily stared at the screen. She didn't feel hurt. She felt done. Not in a dramatic, yelling, slamming doors way, in a clean, solid, final way. The next morning, she woke up before dawn. She brewed coffee, packed her things quietly, and wrote a note. Not angry, not emotional, just the truth. "I loved you when I didn't love myself, but I'm not that woman anymore. I wish you healing, but I'm choosing freedom." She grabbed her bags and stepped outside into the rising light. As she walked to her car, her neighbor, Mrs. Cunningham, waved from her porch. "You heading out early?" the old woman called. Emily smiled. "Heading toward something better." She drove with the windows down, air rushing in, heart pounding not from fear, but from freedom. The kind of wealth no bank account could ever hold. She didn't have it all figured out, but she had herself. And that, finally, was enough. It had been nearly 6 months since Emily wrote day one in that little notebook. Now, standing in front of the mirror at a downtown hotel in Portland, she didn't just see a woman who had lost 92 pounds. She saw someone who had found her power. Her shoulders were back, her eyes clear, her smile wide. The dress she wore was burgundy, soft, fitted, and not chosen to hide anything. She didn't need to shrink anymore. She had outgrown her silence. That afternoon, she was speaking on a panel called Women Who Rebuilt Their Lives at a small conference. It wasn't massive, maybe 70 people in the room. But it was everything. When she took the mic, the room fell silent. Not because she looked perfect, but because the energy she carried was undeniable. "I used to believe my worth could be measured by numbers," Emily began, voice steady. "The number on a scale, the number in our bank account, the number of apologies I made just to keep the peace." She paused. "But real wealth, I've learned, comes from your values, your health, your peace of mind. That's prosperity. That's what saved my life." Applause filled the room. After the panel, dozens of women approached her. Hugs, tears, stories, a sense of sisterhood she had longed for all her life. And for the first time, she didn't feel small. She felt like she belonged. That evening, she sat outside the hotel cafe, sipping a green tea while answering messages on her phone. Her coaching business had picked up. 2 new clients signed on just that week. Small payments, sure, but money she earned by helping women find their voice again. It was late, just past 9, when her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She stared at it for a moment. Something in her gut told her to answer. "Hello?" There was a pause, then a voice she hadn't heard in over a month. "Emily, it's me." It was Tom. She said nothing, just listened. "I saw your photo, the one by the river. Rachel showed me." Still, silence. "You look different. You look good. Healthy." Another pause. "I was wondering if, maybe, you could come get me. My car broke down. I'm at Rick's bar. It's raining. He sounded small, deflated, like a man who had finally seen himself clearly for the first time. Emily looked out the window. The sky above Portland was clear, the stars bright. She waited a beat, then said gently, "Tom, I'm not that woman anymore." "But I got no ride. I thought maybe—" "I know," she interrupted, "but for years I gave you all my rides. I carried your anger, your shame, your blame, and I did it because I didn't know how to say no." She took a deep breath. "But now I do." He didn't yell, didn't beg, just sat there on the other end, stunned. "I wish you peace, Tom. Truly. But I'm not driving back into a storm I finally got free from." She hung up. Her hands didn't shake. Her heart didn't race. She just sat there, watching the reflection of city lights ripple across the sidewalk. A waiter approached. "You good, ma'am?" Emily smiled. "I'm more than good." Because now she had wealth that couldn't be taken, the kind built on healing, values, and real self-respect. That night, as she crawled into the crisp white hotel sheets, she whispered into the dark, "I didn't just lose 92 pounds. I lost the weight of a life that never fit." And with that, she closed her eyes. Not as a woman broken by love, but as one who rebuilt herself with her own 2 hands and finally chose to rise.